Hey everybody, I'm Kevin and I'm back with Offensive Driving 2. I'm just going to jump right into it. Offensive drivers think about other drivers. Alright? They're not selfish. They use their turn signals, which even the police don't use anymore. Very bad examples for all of us. We have our lights on. In fact, most of the cars that I buy have their headlights on even during the day. As soon as you start the car, the lights come on, and that's the way I prefer it. And really, if you're out there on any kind of highway, you should have them on all the time. Remember, if it's foggy out at all, your car may not be seen by cars coming towards you in the other lanes. I had an accident that way because I was passing a car and here came a car that I couldn't see. I didn't hit anybody, but it was close. We also send signals what we plan on doing. So even when you're using your turn signals, remember, if you turn your turn signal on too soon, the person behind you is wondering, does this guy know what he's doing? Maybe he's not turning at all. If you turn it on too late, it doesn't give the guy behind you time to slow down or maybe switch lanes. You got to think about all this stuff. That's what driving means. And for us who enjoy it, all of that's part of the fun. Staying focused. Now, if you are normally an offensive driver, but for some reason you have to go slow, just remember there's other people that still need to get to where they're going. So then be polite as well and get out of the way. Stay in the far right lane. Pull off the road even if you're going that slow. Just be kind to everybody else. Remember, there might be a couple offensive drivers out there with you, and you may be a major problem for them. So just be aware of that. All right, now we're going to get into the fun of it. One of the first things, when you get out on the road, drive like you're gonna drive the whole way. What do I mean by that? A lot of people get up in the mornings, they're half awake. They get out in their car, they drive 5-10 mile an hour slower than the posted speed. And after a while, they build up to driving the speed limit. And then as they're getting closer to work and realize they're late, then they drive over the speed limit. If they were willing to drive, we'll say 75 in a 70, or 65, I mean. If they're willing to drive 75 in a 65 at the end of their trip, they should have been willing to drive 65 in a 55 when they started their trip. It's a bunch of crap to be getting out on the road and not being awake and not driving the same way you're going to when you get to your destination. So when you back out of your driveway, boom, you're going. You're focused. You're going the speed that you would go if you had already been on the road for a half hour. Another thing, yes, offensive drivers drive faster than most people. Okay? The fact is, the police depending on the area and the time of day, allow you to drive faster. So if it's posted as 55, but it's rush hour, 65, 70 is okay. So we're going to be up there. That's where the fun's at anyway. So we're going to be driving faster than the speed limit most of the time. But we do it based on what is allowed. Now, I have some things to tell you in another one, but for now, we'll stick with that. I'm going to point out something. If you're going faster than most of the traffic, guess what? You don't have to worry about looking in your rear view mirror. Now you should, because there's always somebody that's going faster. In fact, I had a motorcycle pass me one time and scared the crap out of me. He was going so fast. I'm sure he's going over 120, and I didn't see him coming. But remember that you can stay focused on looking on what's coming up instead of what's behind you. Those are all forgotten. Another thing, when you're looking at those in front of you, every one of them vehicles has the potential to control you. Why? Because they could decide to slow down. They could change lanes in front of you. They could slam on their brakes. They could drive the same speed as the lane beside them. That all blocks you in. This is part of offensive driving that's fun, because you got to figure out what all of these people were doing. And you got to figure out which ones are potentially the biggest problems for you to maintain the speed that you're going. Once you do that, you adjust. You might even speed up a little to get around one of them, so that you know you don't have to worry about them. Because once they're behind you, they can't control you. You also have to watch out for aggressive drivers. I don't have a good answer for you for them, but I will say this: you don't want to mess with them. If you can identify one, you want to try to stay away from them. Now, the perfect way would be to get ahead of them. However, sometimes they take that as an aggressive move on them, and they may come after you. So you just have to beware. They're there, and look for the best way to get out of it. And if slowing down is the best way, then do it. You have no reason to want to start a problem. They're already wound up anyway. You don't need to make it any worse. And I think I've already said, look for the biggest problems and deal with them first. When you're looking at dealing with these issues of getting around people, all lanes are passing lanes. Now, I know that people are going to tell you that you need a left lane, but I believe that I've even read that, like on beltways and things like that, all lanes are passing lanes. And if they aren't, treat them that way. You naturally know, though, that the far right lane is going to be a problem because there's going to be traffic entering and leaving. Where the left lane is just traffic, moving most of the time. But you should know your highway, because if there's a left exit, then you have to be aware of that because you might not want to be in that lane. And there's another problem with the left lane. Everybody looks at it as the passing lane or the fast lane, and of course they pull over there, and what do? They get in your way. So you got to handle all those issues while you're thinking about this. When you're changing lanes, accelerate into the hole. Don't slow down as you're changing lanes, speed up. It's easier for you to control what's going on in front of you than it is behind you. The guy behind you may rear end you. If you're moving away from them, they'll feel safer. Also, if you're moving away, well, I said that, never mind. And you can always hit your brakes if you have to with the person in front of you. Don't allow enough, I'm sorry for this, but don't allow enough space for another car to get in between you and the car in front of you. That's always a mistake, and you should know that. I know you have to run closer to keep that from happening. However, if you don't want to keep getting pushed backwards, that's your only hope. Defensive drivers are constantly losing distance because of that. When you're changing lanes, always try to get in front of the car that's beside you. Don't let off the gas and get in behind them unless you absolutely have to. Accelerate, speed up, whatever it takes to get in front of them. And I say that with, of course, some reservations. If you're in a lane and you're coming up on traffic and you have no choice but to stay in that lane, this usually happens in the far left lane, but it can happen in any one of them, and you come up on a car that's going slower than you, pull up on their bumper. I know that's tailgating, and normally that's not done. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to wake them up and let them know you want to keep moving. Now, after you've done that, don't stay there. Let off and back away from them so they know that you aren't an idiot or some kind of asshole. Same difference. And relax. If they don't move over, of course, try to find a way to get around them. If a little bit of time has passed, try it again. Pull up on their bumper. Maybe they didn't see you the first time. And then back off. Don't beep your horn. Do not flash your lights. I mean, you may want to try it, but I'll tell you, it never works for me. Now, if you're in New York, you can beep your horn and no one's offended by it, but I've seen plenty of drivers slow down because you pissed them off. And so they're going to teach you a lesson. So with that, I think I'm going to end this this video and look for my third one. Hopefully I'll get done on that one.